Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum. We're going to be looking at its ratio against Bitcoin and looking at the macro level trend and looking at more or less a price prediction, right? But in terms of Ethereum Bitcoin rather than USD. So if you guys like the content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also do check out the Telegram channel, which you can also find a link to in the description below. And then also we do have the premium list. Let's go ahead and jump in. So you guys are fully aware of this, of the Ethereum Bitcoin trend, the macro level trend. We've covered it a lot on this channel. And, we've identified, right, the general low points and high points. And the way we've looked at this is essentially a repeating pattern, right? Where you see kind of like a cool off phase, an accumulation phase, our first peak, our second peak, a cool down, and that last capitulation to the next accumulation. So capitulation to accumulation, accumulation to bubble, bubble to cool down to accumulation, accumulation to first peak, second peak, cool down, reaccumulation. Okay, this is what we were following for quite a long period of time, even way back over here. And identifying this as a key entry point, right? As a key entry point into Ethereum back in 2019. I made lots of videos talking about how Ethereum was undervalued against Bitcoin. Go back and watch them. But we made those videos in this region and said that Ethereum is grossly undervalued against Bitcoin, and that we are likely to see it turn around. And we also speculated, over here that we would see a move going into the first quarter, and we saw one. And now, since Bitcoin has gotten above its 20-week moving average and has sustained it for a long period of time, it hasn't held it as support yet, but it's sustained it for a while. Now the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is starting to blast off again. And we've identified too that at least in the first cycle, the cool down phase here corresponded more or less to the accumulation phase later on. And then this cool down phase corresponded to this accumulation phase, right? And this peak corresponded to the later cool down phase. So it's essentially dropping one throughout the cycle. You can see this was our general trend upwards, followed by our trend downwards. And then this is where I'm essentially saying is more or less our trend upwards. The reason why it's a lot wider is because I don't really know exactly where it's going to go. Obviously, these are a lot cleaner because it's hindsight, right? We can see exactly what that macro level trend was, and to see us come into this region, 3 separate times. The accumulation, first accumulation, second accumulation, and then the time between the first peak and then the second peak. And then we came down into the downtrend, and now we've hopefully started our next uptrend. And we said before, right, that this is likely our next accumulation phase. And the reason we said that, right, is if you imagine that this is cycle 1 and then this is cycle 2, that we might have a short-term bubble. We don't know yet, right? We don't know if it's going to happen. But if we did see something like that, it might correspond loosely to what happened during the first cycle. And so this is cycle 1. We might speculate that this is going to be, cycle 2. We expect the volatility to go down with time. And if this, right, is our new accumulation phase, which corresponds to our last cool down phase, if that is the case, then it means that maybe, just maybe, we get ever so lucky and the Ethereum ratio against Bitcoin continues to go up into a speculative bubble. Maybe has a first peak, second peak, a cool down phase, and then a reaccumulation phase before blast off again, taking us later on into the market cycle. Maybe a peak in late 2022, maybe another peak in say 2023, and then again a cool down phase, and then maybe another accumulation phase. Now, the reason I'm making this video, right, is I made this video about a month ago, and one of the most common questions I saw in the comments was why did I cap it essentially at the prior all-time high against Bitcoin? And it's not that it can't go above it. In fact, here I drew it going above it, up to over 0.2. It's just that if we get to this level, I want people to be aware that there is a chance that we do hold it as resistance and then come back down. We just don't know yet. There's not enough data to say whether we're going to, fly past this ratio or not. And one of the other common questions I got was, well, can Ethereum flip Bitcoin? And my answer to that this cycle is likely no. But if it does, right, and there's always a chance that it does, right? And if it does, I think it would be relatively short-lived, okay? So maybe it happens, but then it only lasts a couple weeks, and then it comes back down. Because during a bear market, which we know that there will eventually be a bear market, Ethereum, Ether, would likely crash harder than Bitcoin. So we expect higher returns with Ether, but there's no free lunch, right? It comes with extra units of risk by holding that Ether over Bitcoin. So again, this is not financial advice. This is just looking at the macro markets from more of a data science perspective and trying to understand these macro level trends. So I don't expect, right, our peaks, these shorter term, these local peaks to be quite as extravagant as the last cycle, right? I don't expect them to be. But that doesn't mean, right, that you still can't make a lot of money by identifying these times where it's just historically a really good time to get into Ether, right? These key milestones, especially as they relate to Bitcoin, and then understanding, okay, it was very undervalued over here. Now we're starting to get into speculative bubble mode-ish, right? We're really starting to get into that mode. We're still, not super high up. Obviously, I would like to see Ethereum go up to $600, $700, to see a local top at around that level, at least. I mean, maybe up to 900 or something, and then maybe to see it retrace a little bit, come back into the accumulation phase, right? And then you can see the nice transition from the first, from the peaks, the cool down from this cycle, and then the accumulation of this next cycle. And then as we continue to go up. Now, there's no guarantee, right, that we see a short-term speculative bubble, right? There's no guarantee that this happens. But, given the momentum that Ethereum has, the only thing, in my opinion, that is stopping this is Bitcoin just absolutely kicking the bucket, which would obviously put a damper on the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio if Bitcoin were to drop back to 6 or 7K. Now, another thing that could happen that could potentially dampen this here would be if Bitcoin were to just start skyrocketing to 20K. Now, I don't really believe that Bitcoin would go to 20K in the next couple months, right? I mean, and because of that, I think as long as Bitcoin stays bullish, right? As long as Bitcoin's doing okay and is staying above its 20-week, which currently is around $9,500, as long as this is the case, right? We've seen it before. Ethereum goes up, then Bitcoin goes up a few days later. Maybe there's a slight retrace, but as long as Bitcoin kind of holds its level, then Ethereum will make another move. And you can understand this, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they both approached, Ethereum approached $400, Bitcoin approached 12K, and they both broke through it simultaneously. But as we continue marching on, now Ethereum's above 400, but Bitcoin's below 12K. So I think slowly, Ethereum is gaining on Bitcoin. I mean, you can see it occurring. People are always talking about they wish they could be parts of these bubbles that are forming. Well, I mean, wake up! Like you're probably in one right now. It's just hindsight will help elucidate that. So what we want to see, right, is in terms of the lens of Ethereum, right? If you hold a lot of Ethereum, what I want to see is to see Bitcoin either hold its ground, right, and that means staying relatively bullish, but it doesn't mean it has to go up, right? It can just stay where it is, or slowly trickle up, right? And that slow trickle up might actually come because Ethereum is going up so much. Like if Ethereum is going to $500 and $600, then I think there's a good chance that Bitcoin will slowly move up with it, but not quite keep pace with Ethereum. I like to think of Ethereum essentially as one market cycle behind Bitcoin, as I've spoken about before. So be on the lookout, right? We've been saying this for a long time, for many months. Be on the lookout for a summer bubble. it seems like we are, potentially really getting into one, and things can get crazy quickly. I know a lot of you think that it's preposterous to think that a $400 Ethereum is anything closely related to a bubble. But you have to recognize that these phases of the bubble are important, because once you really get cooking here, things can get moving quickly, and then it quickly becomes Ethereum's 500, 600, 700, and then all of a sudden people are saying it's going to go to 1400, it's going to go to 2K, 3K, and it's hard to get your attention at that point, right? Because the FOMO, the greed just kind of takes over. So this is why I want to prepare people in case it does happen, right? It's not that it will happen, it's just in case that it does happen, and it seems to me that there's a really good chance that it does happen, as long as Bitcoin just doesn't kick the bucket in the short term. So we're gonna follow along, right? We're certainly gonna follow along. I do anticipate that the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, it's not gonna go sky high this cycle. It's not like it's gonna go to 0.4, 0.5 in my opinion. But it's possible it goes to 0.1, 0.2, something like that. And what I think is going to happen, right, is if we connect these lines down here, that accumulation phase to the next one, and then maybe that middle one to a future projected peak, you can more or less see a potential logarithmic regression formation here, or basically expressing this in terms of logarithmic regression over a macro, like over a 10-year period, right? A 10 to 20-year period. And maybe the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio isn't just going to continue to go up forever, but it's actually slowly converging to another value. Maybe it's slowly converging to somewhere between, 0.06 to 0.1. Maybe it's going to converge to somewhere between, 0.08 to 0.12. I don't really know. It's obviously too close or too early to say. I don't feel like we have enough data, but this is essentially what I'm looking at, right? Looking at connecting this accumulation phase to this one, and then this accumulation phase to a projected one out in, say, 2024, 2025, which in my opinion, at that point, that accumulation phase will probably be around a 0.05, an Ethereum Bitcoin ratio of approximately 0.05, 0.06, somewhere in that ballpark. By the way, this would be following a much higher ratio, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. I think some of you get tired of the updates because you think that they're too similar. But in my opinion, it's important to stay focused on what's happening, to give updates on what's happening. This stuff hasn't changed, right? I mean, it's a serious channel. Some people don't like the monotone that I take on, but it's a serious channel focused on being the smart money and not being the dumb money, right? I don't want people following the channel to get sucked in to the FOMO that might happen up here. I'd rather you recognize the opportunities when they come, when it's quiet in the market, when the bear market is in full mode, basically, and to take advantage of that, so that when we do get into the dumb money mode, you're not the one FOMOing in, you're the one taking out profits. So if you guys like the content, we do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. I will remind you that if you want to sign up, just check out the website, and you get access to 6 different things. I know I've said it a lot in the videos, but just to reiterate, in case you haven't seen this in my channel before, the 6 things you get access to are the Telegram alerts channel, which will basically put out alerts on my thoughts on the markets, and we even talk about coins that I don't often talk about on the YouTube channel. A private Telegram chat room, a weekly premium report, a weekly premium video, a Google Sheets risk dashboard that includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, Cardano, Chainlink, Litecoin, and XRP, and then a Google Sheets dynamic DCA sell strategy dashboard. And this will allow you to check out different strategies and put in how much Ethereum you have anonymously. You could always just make it up, and then look to see different selling strategies based on what you think the projected peak of Ethereum will be. So make sure you check it out, intothecryptoverse.com. The prices will be going up sometime this month or next month. But if you want to get in now, you'll be grandfathered in at the lower price. And if you pay with crypto, you can get a pretty nice discount. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're obviously going to follow the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio as we continue marching on through the market cycle. Make sure you check out the Telegram channel at the very least, And also, do give the video a thumbs up if you haven't. It really helps me out. And then subscribe to the channel as well. Trying to go to 40K members here in a month or two. So I appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.